men and women are wired differently. Give you one more illustration. You know, men are not very expressive, but one day a wife sees that their small newborn baby is lying in a baby cot, and the husband is standing there looking at this baby in the baby cot, and he's smiling and he's kind of he's a lot of expressions, and the wife sees those expressions. She is thrilled. At last my husband is expressing something. So she goes next to him, puts her arm around his arm and says, "Honey, a penny for your thoughts. Tell me, what were you thinking?" So he says, "I was thinking, I bought this baby cot for 100 rupees. Isn't it a good deal?" I think of a man who had lost his donkey. And he was searching high and low, couldn't find the donkey. So he found one tall tree in a field. So he went up this tall tree, big tree. Went right to the top so he could see better. Now that field belonged to another man who was newly married. And he was a farmer in that field. But he came from a joint family. And in the joint family and the kind of family he lived was such that the lady of the house had always to put her ghungat, the veil over her face. And so throughout the day, he could never see his wife's face. Because everybody, elders, seniors were in the house, so she had to keep her face covered. And the night time, it was a no electricity place, so he couldn't see his wife's beautiful face. So he was feeling frustrated. So he told his wife, "Why don't you come and bring the lunch box? So I'll eat the lunch box, but I also get to see you." So the lunchtime, the husband finished his farming work. I was having a break, and lo and behold, his wife came with the veil over her face with the lunch box. So he sat under the same tree where our friend is up on the top looking out for his donkey. And so he sat under his tree and she gave the lunchbox. And then he kind of did the unveiling. And then he saw her. He said, "Wow." He says, "What a beauty. Oh, your cheeks are like an apple, just ripened. Your chin is like a pomegranate. And your eyes are like custard apple." She said, "I know you like fruit salad. I brought it with you for your lunch." And he said, and he looked towards his wife's eyes. And he says, "I can see the whole world in your eyes." Then he heard a voice from the top. "Can you find my donkeys there?" Folks, some husbands are still searching for donkeys. And I pray that you will know how to appreciate and honor each other. Men and women are wired differently. Come.
See, I'm known to be quite funny and humorous, but after you laugh at Stanley's jokes, then I'm substandard. Sometimes I think that way, but I'll try to keep my efforts. And let me start with a joke. A man walks into a restaurant, a fast food center, with an ostrich. We're tired of donkeys, Stanley. He walks into this fast food center with an ostrich, and he orders. The waitress comes and says, "What will you have, sir?" He says, "I'll have a hamburger, some French fries, and a Coke." And then he looks at the ostrich and said, "How about you?" The ostrich says, "Same here." The waitress brings it at the table, and she says, "It's $9.40. He puts his hand into his pocket. Have you heard this before?
Hey!
Once he hasn't heard that joke. Okay, he puts his hand into his pocket, pulls out $9.40. She says, "Thank you, sir." Goes away. He comes back again the next day with this ostrich, and he orders the same. A burger, French fries, Coke. The waitress says, $9.40. He puts his hand into his pocket, pulls out $9.40. Everyone's happy. This goes on for almost 3-4 days. Now the waitress kind of knows the order. So when he comes in another day, he says, "Sir, will it be the same?" And he says, "No, today is Friday. I'll have a steak, I'll have a pudding, and the same Coke." He looks at the ostrich, and the ostrich says, same here. The waitress goes and brings it, and then says, that will be $36.60. He puts his hand into his pocket, pulls out the money exact. Now, looking at your faces, the same thoughts going into the waitress's mind. How does this man do this? So she asks him, just to satisfy my curiosity, sir, how do you manage to bring out the exact change every time? He says, that, some years back I was cleaning the attic. I found a lamp. I just rubbed it for old time's sake, like Aladdin, no? And the same genie came up. And again, we don't believe in genies. That's just a joke. So the genie said, 2 wishes. It'll be yours. So he said, okay, let's keep it simple. Every time I need something, I need to find that money in my pocket. So the waitress says, very smart. I would have said $1 million. He said, yeah, it's good. It's the same whether I need a burger or a Mercedes Benz or a palace or want to buy the shake fully out. I'll have the change in my pocket. That's a wise man's reply. Good. And what about the ostrich? What is the thing about the ostrich? He said, that was my second wish. Second wish, I said, I want a chick with long legs who will agree to everything that I say. I'm happy at my own self. I got good response, Stanley. But Ephesians 4:25, we are not to be ostriches. According to Ephesians 4:25, we are encouraged to speak the truth in love and not be, it's both ways, husband and wife. Ostriches come in male and female, by the way. We are not supposed to be like ostriches. We're supposed to speak the truth in love. Many years back when I was still a little girl, there was a movie, I think Stanley will be, and there are some others older than me. There was a movie called 10 Lakh. Anybody remembers? 10 Lakh. And there were 2 actors. I think one is dead. I'm not sure about Tuntun. Is Tuntun alive? I don't know. No. There was Tuntun and Om Prakash. Both were like comedians. Now, this was when I was really small. And there's one dialogue which I still remember. Om Prakash tells Tuntun. Om Prakash is an old man in the movie. And Tuntun, for all you young couples, she was really fat. She was like a round jar with a lid on top. Small lid, no? Like that. She was very fat. And so Om Prakash says to Tuntun, लोग कहते हैं तू इतनी मोटी मोटी लेकिन मेरे आंखों में तू कितनी पतली पतली. That is not Ephesians 4:25. Every time there was a fat woman passing by, I'd say, Kuta, am I as fat as her? I do that still with my sons. And Shri would always say, he'd say, you're taller than her. And he'd also say, you have a figure that is so proportionate. He always spoke the truth in love. I must tell you, this is, you will hear these kind of things. Close to his passing away, we used to sit together as a family and talk about heaven. And it was very a common topic for us as a family to sit together and talk about what it would be like in heaven and what we'll do and who. This is all just, nobody has gone to heaven and come back. So we try and quiz ourselves and tickle our imagination. And one of the days, I was sitting with one of my sons, and so I said, when you go to heaven, what will you tell God about me? You should tell him something nice. And so he said some things. I said, no, that's not good enough. About me, just me. What will you tell him? So he had lost his ability to speak by then, so everything was written. So he told me, it's documented, I have it with me. He says, I'll reach there and I'll say, let us send her some motivation to lose weight. He kept his truth part of speaking alive till the very end. Let us learn to speak the truth in love. We have to learn to speak honestly to each other. There is no gray areas here. There are no white lies here. We have to get into the habit of speaking and hearing. If you're asking for a feedback, then you brace yourselves to hear the truth. If you don't want to hear the truth, better not ask questions like that. But learn to speak the truth. We need to speak honestly about so many issues. Let's start with finances. I know many young couples who have different bank accounts and they don't even divulge their bank balances to each other. They just have an understanding that you spend for this and I'll spend for this. Your investments are separate, my investments are separate. I think that may not be very healthy. Maybe if you're holding big jobs and you have separate bank accounts, you can issue checks from your own accounts, but let it be discussed and honestly, truthfully discuss financial issues, your investments, budgets, where do you need to cut cost, how do you bring in your revenue. Both of you will have to sit down together and decide on a common goal. Do you need to stop doing some overtime? Do you need to take a break from work? And if you take a break from work, what are the implications? Do we need an insurance? Do we need medical insurance? These are things that you need to talk with each other. When I got married, like I shared yesterday, I was a novice in finances. I had no clue about spending money beyond the few thousands that I had in my hand. Nothing more. I didn't know no foresight. But very diligently and carefully, Shri introduced me into it. Then he took some risks and let me handle some money in the initial years. He gave me some money and let me handle. Let me do the budgeting for housekeeping expenses. But it was a good way to teach me. Because he began to speak very honestly about his own income, I knew that, okay, our lifestyle has to change. I can't live like how I lived when I was in my father's house. I have to live in a different standard. That's because he took the initiative to tell me. Good to have family meetings to discuss overall goals and maintain unity in disciplining children. This is so key. Otherwise, there's a conflict in the presence of your children. And children are so smart and so clever. They will read it even before you finish your sentence. And they know how to use both the parents against each other. So, right at the beginning, you have to have your clear understanding of unity when you're disciplining children. Sometimes you may not agree with a stand that the husband takes, the father takes. Sometimes you may feel, okay, he's a little too high-handed on this issue. You address this issue after the children go to sleep. so that you can rectify it when you are alone. But don't keep it in your mind. So, oh, he thinks he's the father, he can do anything. No, you can address it, but not in the presence of your children. Share your past. Remember, just now Stanley told us about all the 5 people coming into bed with you. Terrible. That is terrible. We have a story of a young man who said he's married for 8 years to the most beautiful woman in this world. He couldn't have asked for anybody better than this. But there's not a single day he's alone in his bedroom with his wife, because memories of his past flames haunt him. So you need to share your past with each other honestly and resolve it. Break those cords. Burn those bridges. Start afresh. Share childhood stories. Very interesting to share each other's childhood stories. Find interest in each other's childhood stories. Both of us have gone to visit our schools where we were both educated. The first time I told Sri, let's go to my school. He said,